Hi, my name is Nunziata, and I'm a New York City-based director and creator of theater, television, and film. I'm also a proud FENIX Global Artist Ambassador. Today, I am thrilled to be speaking with FENIX's latest celebrity artist, Michael J. Polo. Michael is an award-winning composer, creator, and producer. He is the composer and co-creator of Mad Hatter the Musical. In 2015, Michael established Partners for the Arts Abroad LLC, an organization which facilitates the development of international music programs, including the Vienna Summer Music Festival, the London Summer Music Theater Academy, the Los Angeles Music Industry Summer Academy, the San Paulo Contemporary Composers Festival, and the Austria Summer Music Festival. Michael has also produced 16 operas in Vienna alone, 6 of which were world premieres. He also produced Mad Hatter the Musical in London and many orchestra and chamber music concerts, including over 120 world premieres. And now, here is my interview with Michael J. Polo. Well, hello, Mike. How are you?
I'm good, Will. How are you?
Good, thanks, my friend. I'm so excited that you were able to join me today. Thank you.
Yes, no, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Listen, Mike, you do everything. You're a composer, you're an arranger, you run festivals all over the world, in Vienna, in Sao Paulo, in Los Angeles, in London. I love that you have your hands in everything because I feel like you have hands in both the show of show business and the business of show business. But I want to backtrack for a second and ask you, where were you born and when did you know that music and arts was going to be a part of your life?
So I grew up in South Jersey, Washington Township, about 20 minutes outside of Philadelphia. And yeah, so when I was young, my mom used to play. She was taking piano lessons from a little old lady around the corner, and she used to play The Sound of Music all the time. And so, yeah, so I mean, I kind of fell in love with it, and I started taking piano lessons around 5. And rather than practicing, I would always be improvising. So I mean, my family didn't really care, nor did they really know what I was doing. So it wasn't until I was 16 that the orchestra director at my high school had suggested I go to Berklee School of Music for the 5-week summer program. And when I went up there, I ended up winning the singer-songwriter contest. They had a singer-songwriter contest. 300 people went out for it. They selected 8 winners, and I was one of the 8 winners. And so I was ecstatic. I came home and I had a recording, the piece I did, and I told my orchestra director, but she told me, she said, I told her, I was like, I'm more interested with the classic music. And she goes, well, maybe you should start studying in Settlement School, Philly in Philadelphia. And I said, okay, fine. So I ended up meeting a composer by the name of Roberto Pace. And so he was the first person to introduce me to the composers such as like Bartok and Shostakovich and Scriabin. And from there, my life just kind of said, okay, I'm definitely pursuing composition.
That's amazing, Mike. And speaking with a lot of artists, and I know myself as both a singer and now as a director, it's those teachers early on in life that really help shape and catapult our life paths within this chosen profession. And I can't help but think also, Mike, obviously you're a successful composer and you're an amazing orchestrator and arranger, but that you've been able to also use your tool belt as a musician and a composer arranger, but giving it back. Explain to me how the vision of creating these festivals throughout the country and the world happened for you.
Sure. Okay, so when I was 19, I started working at an opera festival in northern Minnesota, and it was a professional opera component and then a young artist chamber component. And some of the faculty that were coming, I mean, there's some of the heavy hitters, throughout the United States and throughout Western and Eastern Europe. I mean, even some from Asia, and the level of talent was something unlike I've ever seen before, because I didn't come from a classic music family, what I mean? So for me, being around this young talent really kind of just blew my mind open. And it wasn't until I got to University of Florida, I assumed the role of president of the Fine Arts College Council.
Oh, wow.
And part of the reason why I became president of Fine Arts College Council is I was on assistantship for my doctorate degree, but I got a bill in the mail for $750 the first semester. And I said, okay, I'll pay it this semester. Then I got it again in the second semester. And I said, what the hell is this for? So I called the Student Activities Involvement Center, who was issuing the invoice. And I said, what is this for? And there's a young lady on the phone. And she's like, well, this is for the bowling alleys and, for this. And I was like, well, I don't use any of this stuff. And why are you charging this kind of money? And if you do the math, $1,500 a year times 52,000 students. We're talking about $78 million a year.
Wow.
And I was really upset because this is a research-run institution. I knew that the arts weren't getting a lot of money. And so that's when I assumed the role of president of Fine Arts College Council, and I had about 30 organizations underneath of me in the areas of theater, film, art, literature, and dance, and music. And so
Wow.
what I did, I told them, I was like, let's just bring in guest artists. So, and so that's really how it started, so we had, it was awesome. We were bringing in so many artists. We were taking so much money out of student government because that's where the money was going to, and into the student activities and involvement. And so at the same time, I had been working with an individual who invited me to start doing some work in Vienna, Austria. And it was then that I said, okay, who can you introduce me to? So I ended up meeting members of Vienna Phil, Vienna Symphonica, Vienna State Opera, and the Chepco's vocal coach, Daniel Sarga, James Pearson, like really top-notch musicians.
Wow.
And so it was just like, you know what, I'm going to take my experience and everything I'm passionate about, my experience with Fine Arts College Council, and say, we're going to do this on an international scale. I'm going to do it my own company. So it was in 2015, I started Partners for the Arts Abroad. And started out study abroad. And then it was just like, you know what, we're going to do opera festival, orchestra festival, composition festival, everything in Vienna. Then we're going to go to Sao Paulo. Then we opened up a program in Hollywood, California, another one in London, another one in Sofia, Bulgaria. And, and the world is open at this point. You know what I mean? The networks get so small,
That's right.
which is great. I shouldn't say the networks, the world gets so small that you start to meet people who know each other. And the next thing you know, they're like, okay, you're doing this really cool thing here. Why don't you come to my town or my city and let's do the same thing? So that's kind of how it started. Yeah.
Mike, your sensibility, your mindset reminds me a lot of Alan and Lance, two of the three founders of FENIX that I've gotten to befriend over these past few weeks. And it's like they've been able to take their talents and their skill sets and their experience and bring it to FENIX. And it only makes me think with this app for you, as not only a composer and arranger, to be collaborating with artists that you may have never even thought about who are outside of the United States and even these cities where your organizations and programs are. But it makes me think about, for you as an executive director and in the business side of show business, when you wear that hat, to be now able to correspond and connect with artists and business people in different cities around the world to expand your business.
Yes, exactly. It's I tell people when I meet them and when I when I'm trying to make new business with people, I say we're all growing old together.
I love that.
And it's just like, this is our time on this planet, and we got to leave our thumbprint. And so communication is so important. Being able to talk with people, being able to network, being able to plan, because you're as an artist, you have to be thinking, as a producer, you have to be thinking, 1, 2, 5 years down the road. 10 years down the road is not out of the question. And I think that's one of the benefits about this entire thing. It's like, okay, we can start looking at the 2025 calendar. We can start looking at the 2030 calendar. Where are you going to be? Because you're growing older. I'm growing older. Your network is going to expand. My network is going to expand. When's the right time for us to come together, mesh, and do something that's really meaningful, that can have a significant impact on the consumer audience of whatever art project it is that's happening?
Absolutely. And look at Mike. I'm so happy that you're on board this FENIX app, because as one of its first celebrity artists, because it's people like you and so many of the artists that we've been speaking with over the past few weeks, is you have this big picture mentality, in that it's more than just being a composer. It's more than just being an arranger. All artists, whoever they are, whether they're singers, actors, directors, choreographers, painters, speakers. Did I say painters already? I got horns. I got horns outside my window. I know you got your kid watching what Mickey Mouse Club. Mickey Mouse Club in the back. This is quarantine. But what I'm saying is that I'm excited you're on board, my friend, because I know you as a collaborator. We've been in the trenches together, but I also can't wait for people outside of even already your expanded network to join the networks of all of these people excited about this new app, where there was never connection in this type of platform before,
Yeah. And Will, just to kind of follow up with everything that you're saying, when I was at the University of Florida, grade school and everything, but it wasn't built, the College of Fine and Performing Arts, and this is typical, not just the University of Florida, many schools around the nation, not all, but many, that it's structurally not built for collaboration.
Mm.
And like structurally, like I'm literally talking about the planning, the
Yeah.
construction, and so you end up, there's always this thing that comes up in academia, I mean, about how everybody gets siloed, and it's like, oh, we should do more stuff together, and so it's just like, okay, yeah, you should, but where do you have the opportunity to meet?
That's right.
The building just isn't, it's just not set up for that.
That's
The
right.
at the other part, the dance school's over here. I'm going, when I'm coming to campus, I'm in my lane, I go here, I mean, so the point of intersection physically is very difficult. However, with this digital age, and I mean, it opens up a world of possibilities, and so I think it's going to solve a lot of the problems that people are maybe unaware that they even that's even in front of them. You know what I mean?
I agree with you. And look at, I could speak with you for hours, but to button up what you're just saying, what I'm thinking about in terms of how, artists like you coming on board this amazing new revolutionary platform, is that FENIX provides that place,
Exactly.
that one-stop shopping of all
Yeah.
these artists coming together. And something else, Mike, that I'm, reminded by you now offline when we chat is the same thing FENIX is about, which is putting the artist first, and it's about time. And
Yes.
I'm excited for the world who don't know who you are already to get to know who you are. And I'm grateful for your time today, my friend.
Yeah. Will, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Bye.
Bye.
In the digital age, artists and bands struggle to make a living. In fact, only a small number of artists can live off their craft. For the 98% of artists that don't have the luxury of being signed to a label, it's tough. But artists deserve to live off their art. Wherever you are around the world, appreciation of music does not change. FENIX brings bands and their fans together, whilst allowing bands to properly monetize their passion. The FENIX app will directly connect bands and fans with no need for middlemen. We're utilizing the blockchain to give the power back to the artist once and for all. Join FENIX, join the change.